Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Valley Sportsbook and Casino, downtown Baton Rouge. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff, Jimmy Ott, Max Gotro back with us today. Jordan Kinchin's back in the studio. Bruce Marshall will be with us today a little early this week because the USA's match coming up tonight, as well as, of course, we're going to be off on Friday for the 4th of July. Wes Reynolds also with us for the John Deere Classic Consensus Golf Picks and his thoughts also on the World Cup.
We'll let Max in on our conversation about the World Cup. I mean, is he qualified?
Well, I don't know. He's missed a couple of days, so
I mean, you know,
not sure if he's been keeping
I caught a good bit of the conversation. Y'all were right on a lot of things. There are a couple things that we got to clean up, but that's okay.
Made a few
opinions or data.
Just overall details, like penalty kicks and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, no, we know some, but anyway,
we got a lot of stuff to get to with the World Cup, but we start with the passing of longtime Southern University baseball coach Roger Cato, 33 years as the head coach at Southern University. His baseball accomplishments are numerous, and some of them historic. We're going to go through a lot of that. But for Roger Cato, the lives that he changed, the young people that he mentored, the impact that he had on this community, I don't think it can be overstated. Jimmy, both of us have had a long relationship with Roger Cato. You longer than me. We were both there for some of his biggest wins in the NCAA tournament. But mostly, Roger Cato was so generous with his time for us. I don't know that any coach has been more enthusiastic about being a part of anything that we asked him to be, helping out anywhere that we asked him to go, things that he do, always with a big smile, always with that big laugh. I know it's cliche. I don't know if I'm sure he was at some point, but I never saw him in a bad mood.
Oh no, he's always on.
And you know, I knew him for a long time, but your relationship with Roger Cato goes back even further than that, back to the early days of the Press Box show, the original Press Box show, and we knew he was sick. We knew that that this was something that he was dealing with, but it's still hard. Man, I got a lot to say about Roger Cato, and I know you do too.
I mean, it is a big man who, cancer had taken its toll on, that he had lost considerable weight and a little bit of his whereabouts. But, talking to him on the phone, Charlie, as late as weeks ago, you'd have never known. You'd have never known. He was still cutting up. I mean, the last time I talked to him, his sister was in there, and so he said, "Who are you on the phone with, laughing like that?" Just, "Oh, this is Jerome." And it's an inside story.
I love that he called you Jerome.
Jerome. Like Malia even said today, man, I'm sorry to hear about Jerome.
Yeah.
We called each other Jerome, and John S. was a part of that as well. And there was never a time he didn't come on our show where we didn't have some laughs. There was never a time I had all kinds of phone conversations. We didn't have some laughs. When he came on, to visit, he used to, because we do it on restaurants every day, and we promote the food. He'd go, "Oh, Jimmy Ott, all he wants to do is eat. Because I talk about the food.
Yeah.
Now, when he would come to the show and do it, my man could put down the groceries.
Sure,
okay?
sure.
So, but the first time I met him, we were doing a show in 94 at the regional, 6-team regional. Early game is going on. His team didn't make it that year. It was the first little break, 93 and I think it was 94 and 95. They didn't make it. And I never said, and he'd go, "Oh, the little otter and the rooster." Like he had known us forever, came over, jumped on the air, and that just, of course, huge personality. Charlie, this is when we don't have scores. We're doing it kind of by the press area at Alec Buck, so we don't even have a view. We kind of send in some guy just to see the score of this game. It was just different time as far as doing shows. So he's there and he does that. Generous with his time. No, he never did he not make it available. And I don't care where he was. If he was in a recruiting trip in Venezuela, Atlanta, Chicago, Puerto Rico, or, well, this is a mid-major or a small major. How do they qualify for the NCAA tournament, Charlie? The conference tournament.
Win SWAC tournament, yeah.
He did. I said, Coach, can I get you on at the conference tournament at this time? During the show. He's like, we're playing it. I was like, well, I'll call the SID, get a report. It's okay, Jerome. Just call me. I said, wait, during the game? Yes, during the conference tournament, during the dugout. He's like, what, Coach? How's it going? You can hear him, a little crowd going to the background, screaming balls and strikes, and and they get a hit. I said, what's the score? We up right now, Jerome, 4-2, and we got a runner on. And he said, hold on, Jerome. That was a ball. He's screaming at the umps during a live report, but that's the personality and the accessibility that he just was not going to turn down because, look, the 900 wins, the 14 SWAC regular season titles, the 14 NCAA tournament appearances, but he did that. We talk about how many times does the word we're analyzing situation in college athletic situations. We talk about resources till we're blue in the face. Okay, talking about resources. Did anybody have less resources? But he knew him getting exposure, jumping on the air, or doing this, and that he was not turning it down. And he was working. And whether it was hustling ads for the outfield wall, hustling ads for his media guide / program to generate. And then my favorite is when you go into campus at Southern, so you go on, there's an overpass, and to your right is the baseball stadium. I mean, a foul out of play around the right field line, you got to watch this. You got to watch the ball. You coming over the interstate. What did he do? Climate control batting cages were a big thing. Was starting to be a big thing. He put some damn nets under the overpass, and he got climate control batting cages.
Because that's what they had to work with.
And he loved when people would stop for a free peek. And I said, the Southern fans are lining, kind of a rooftop element, a free peek in a Wrigley
You're
Field.
being very generous with the word stadium, by the way.
Yes, but that's part of his resources. They had to take care of the field and everything. I said, the fans are filing in now. Fashionably late in the luxury boxes up on the thing. Well, he loved that kind of stuff. How about when LSU played there midweek? He had the whole band there.
Yeah.
And then and of course he's controlling the concessions. He's like, please feed the Lolata. He wants to eat. But he was just maxing out the resources and his contacts. His contacts were just out of control. Let me call Hank Aaron, Lolata. What? I sure would like to go to call. If they make it to the World Series, I'd love to go. Let me call Dusty. Charlie, he set me up with games 3, 4, and 5, 2003 World Series. Now Bartman ruined it, for me and my dad. And he grew an appreciation for my dad because then he hired me to do, radio and TV. And you were doing some radio as well. And so we were broadcast partners, and he was a regular fixture on my show. But then we became a lot closer once he realized how much he had done for the black community in New Orleans. And so then our friendship grew on another level where he was a black man who was very comfortable in the white community, and I was a white man who was comfortable in the black community. The day I was going to Ethan's first South Baton Rouge Rams game, and I said, where are you going? I said, going to EJ's first football games today. Where is he playing? Memorial Stadium. I said, what? So he's playing for Pat Green at the South Baton Rouge Rams. He goes, you got him playing with the brothers. Good work, Jerome. See, you don't understand what you're doing for him. Because we both share the feeling that the best way to appreciate people from different backgrounds is to interact with them. And there's no better way to interact with people from different backgrounds than sports, because it cuts through, racial and socioeconomic, backgrounds, differences, whatever it is. I mean, you got to step between the lines. And my dad was a big proponent of that, and Roger was as well. So I wanted him to meet my mom and dad. So we were doing Cox Sports TV was doing those games. I forget what era that was, 25, 30 years ago. And we're playing UNO at Privateer Park, so my parents could just come across the river and meet him. Well, me and Todd Callis, Harry Callis, his son, by the way, who was doing the broadcast with me, the legendary Philadelphia Phillies broadcast. Todd is still with the Rays. And he come in from Tampa to do the games, and I would do the color. So we shoot the pregame, and we got and I am looking, and my parents are like, well, where's Coach? I said, I can't find him. My dad's like in the dugout. My dad, on a game day, from the time he wakes up to the time they kick off, he is a bundle of nerves. Did I forget anything? I'm worried about this player. I hope he didn't get in a fight with his girlfriend or whoever. All the little things you worry about as a coach. And I said, I can't find him. I said, man, it's about 10 minutes before first pitch. I got to get up and about that time, 10 minutes before first pitch, he comes around the corner. It's me, my mom, and my dad, and he's got 2 hot dogs in his hands. And I was like, where have you been? I got to eat. And my parents like, my dad told that story, says, 10 minutes before game, he's just going to get a couple of hot dogs. He's chilling. But that was the beauty of Roger as a coach. You ever seen a coach take himself less seriously? Never had done. I mean, he's doing interviews from the dugout during the most important time of the season to getting a hot dog before and always laughing. Always laughing. When they showed some footage with Skip and they get in the rocking chair, he's smiling and laughing. Just so much more than just a coach, Charlie.
You mentioned all of these things that he did, and he did them because he wanted to, but also because he had to. I've told this story before, but when you were going through that, what you were talking about game day and stuff like that, the part that caught my attention was, well, you call an SID. What SID? For most of the time he was there, I would say
this guy was considered their SID.
Yeah, for way more of the time.
Basically a journalism student.
Yeah, for way more of the time he didn't have much of a support staff. And I've told this story before, but I want to illustrate the point for those that haven't heard it. The first game I ever did at Lee Hines Field, and this would have probably been right about a little under 30 years ago, right about 97, maybe 98. And I talked with him, got out there, several hours before the game. This was Roger Cador on game day. This was a SWAC game. This is a conference game on an afternoon in the middle of the week. So the first thing is he's got all these stats ready for me. He's got his roster. He's got his stats. He's got his lineup. Everything is there for me. He did that. There was no SID that day to do any of that for him. He had all of that ready for me. He said, now let's go set up. The setup was challenging. There wasn't a press box. There was a little, you probably remember this, that little box that they used for the PA, okay? And the scoreboard operator had the only phone line out there, and it required us to run probably about, I would say, 50, 60 feet of phone cord just to get to our broadcast location. Mm-hmm. He ran the doggone phone cord with me, okay? Let's make sure that this gets done. This is 3 hours before he's got to play a game. So he's got my stats. He's got the phone line set up for me. He goes, now let's get you a table, okay, a folding table and a couple of chairs. This goes on for, we're doing all these logistics. I turn around, and here comes another folding table. Coach, I only need one. No, that's our concession stand. And he would players bringing the folding table out, these 6-8 foot folding tables with boxes of candy bars or things that they had gone to Sam's to get. Now, Roger did all of that. He went shopping for all of that stuff. And they would have a volunteer sit down there and sell candy bars and stuff off of the folding table, and that was their concession stand, and he took care of that. Then you get to right before the game, and we do the lineups, and I'm looking down, and I look up, and they're dragging the infield. This is 4 minutes to first pitch, one of those little mini tractors. Cador's dragging the infield. It's him, okay? He doesn't have a grounds crew. He doesn't have
as he won, he got a buddy to do it, volunteer. He would.
It improved.
Some people wanted to. Yeah, people. No, but he had to hustle.
Yeah.
his help. He didn't.
The ads in the outfield. LSU donated some lights there. It took him forever to get them put up because he didn't exactly always have. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Administrative cooperation. He hustled everything himself. He did everything himself. And we're going to get into the baseball stuff here in the second segment. But resources, he created his own resources. And he would get frustrated from time to time, but boy, you never saw that in public because he was going to make sure those kids had everything that he could possibly provide for them. He couldn't do everything that a power conference program could. He didn't have that kind of money, but whatever he could do, he did it. And he did it for players, he did it for his staff, and he did it for the media. There's nobody else like him. There's nobody else like him that had to endure what he had to endure. Skip built the LSU program from the ground up, but Skip at least had some administrative support at times. Roger almost never had any. It was football or fend for yourself, and that's what. If I had to tell a Roger Cador story to anybody outside of this market, and they say, tell me about this legendary coach, because it's not like Southern baseball got a lot of publicity in his heyday. Let me tell you about what Roger made out of his vision, out of his loyalty. You think that guy couldn't have got a job somewhere else? He was here 33 years. You think he couldn't have gotten a pay raise to go somewhere else? He was a Southern University lifer, and that was by choice.
There's no doubt there's a lot more we need to talk about. We're live over here today, and we'll do that when we come back from this break, because I have, of course, considerably more to share.
Yeah, I'm not done either.
behind the man who was just such a name. Unique is one of the more overused terms in speaking, broadcasting, and but I mean, tell me another guy that has this type of resume and. And we'll go to, you talk about other positions, but it wasn't so much a position, it was a position, but his roles in a lot of different programs that are making a difference at the highest level of baseball is pretty cool. Hey, man, this is a watch, but my buddy Coach from Natchez, came in to watch the some of the World Cup over here during the week, man, and we got World Cup tonight. This is going to be, there's not a better screen in town. And I don't know, 150-mile radius, whatever. This is the best screen they got going. Armando's going to have it working tonight. Coverage, we got games all day. But, again, U.S. and Bosnia the BH crew, we got them on today at 7 o'clock is when they start?
When they
7
start.
o'clock is the coverage?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock we start. So coverage starts in 2 minutes.
Yes.
I guess. It's been a lot of fun. What about the scene in Mexico City? Was that a home field advantage?
Nobody beats him in Azteca, baby.
Ooh, wow. I mean, was that and I mean, they now they played 4 World Cup games. They have given up how many goals?
0.
A
lot of clean sheets.
So Ecuador had 8 0-0 games, 0-0 qualifying games, World Cup. That wasn't going to last long. I mean, they got 2 early, and they could have got about 2 or 3 more early. You ever see how a home crowd energizes? If the U.S. can have some of that tonight, and they'll have some of it, if they can get close to that, look out, man.
Mexico soccer got more clean sheets than the Holiday Inn at 3 o'clock, man.
There you go, Charlie.
Ba-dum-bum.
There you go. More Roger Cador talk when we come back there live from Bally's.
Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch from Bally's Casino and Sportsbook on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Show's available on demand, 1045ESPN.com, LouisianaSports.net. It's brought to you by Supreme Rice, celebrating 90 years in business in 2026. Supporting our Louisiana farmers, go to SupremeRice.com. Roger Cador won 913 games as a college baseball coach. He won 14 SWAC championships. He won 3 NCAA tournament games at Southern. We're going to talk about them. over the course of his career, he coached 62 Major League draftees, 10 All-Americans, and the 2003 Golden Spikes winner in Ricky Weeks, who was the number 2 pick in the draft. Jimmy, having the Golden Spikes winner at an HBCU is the baseball equivalent of having the Heisman Trophy winner, I think, at an HBCU, if not more difficult because of the number of
McNair.
Steve McNair's the closest one, and that was 93. And maybe even tougher because if you've got the kind of talent it takes to win the Golden Spikes, how many more players get soaked up right out of high school, especially during Kador's time where the draft was unlimited. You know, you could take guys literally until you retired drafting. And to get a player the caliber of Ricky Weeks, the Golden Spikes Award at Southern University, what a coup!
That 2003 team was very special. We were at the NCAA selection show at a local restaurant, and I watched it, and they were very, very excited about getting a 3 seed instead of the 4 seed, and the attention that Ricky Weeks got. I mean, it was on DirecTV. It's called College Sports Network. And they hired me to do interview with Ricky, and send it to him and things like that. And there was just a lot of attention to scouts that were in Hattiesburg, for that regional when they went there. USM was a 2 seed as a host. The number 1 seed was Baylor. And DeJuan Day was a pretty good pitcher, and he pitched pretty good against a really good USM team. And Weeks has one that he hit to center field that they're still talking about today. And they won that game. And now then they lost the next game to Baylor, and then USM had much more pitching depth than Southern coming out the losers bracket, beat them. But it cost Southern Miss basically the regional because they beat Baylor once, couldn't beat them twice because their pitching was done and just got battered in that final game. But it was a very, very important. And that team and it wasn't just him. It was Antoine Gray. It was Fernando Puebla. It was, the kid that played Fred Lewis. Fred Lewis was like a second-round pick, and it's part of his connections.
Was Darryl Hamilton on that team?
No. He was way before. He was way before.
Okay.
He was in the pros at the time. But the lineup was good. Trust me. I mean, I remember that Southern Miss Gray had a big hit. Third baseman, played good third base. They were clean the outfield because, where to get Fernando from? We got him from Venezuela because some of his trips, he was seeing kids that a lot of people weren't. And he was going to Chicago, Florida. He discovered Ricky. Not everybody knows the showcase 4 and 5 stars. Everybody knows them. The scouts, the college coaches, everybody. But Roger became really good friends with a lot of scouts because, wait, man, I wasn't able to go to that lower profile one. We know you're trying to recruit for you. Give me, did you see anybody? Did you get anybody? So, and over time, he built a network there. Chicago, a lot he went to. And he just, again, Dusty Baker is like his best friend. We've had him on the show together. A lot of the Negro League old timers, before a lot of them have passed as of now, but he could call him on the phone, man, and get that was impressive. And the one thing you talked about especially is a couple things. I said, man, why? And we talked about middle infielders. Why are they so good from the Latin American countries? Jerome, they dance. And he do this little dance. He said they dance. They do this little cha-cha. And they know how to use the moves. And the other thing he liked, and this was a little bit of swag, and it was a lot of Latin, and it is relaxing. One thing he was proud of, he said, finally, they can relax on the code and have some fun. Now we talk about, tossing a bat and just throwing the bat like, you're throwing a javelin or something is different. But that drove him crazy for a long time. He says, man, they have fun in Venezuela and Puerto Rico when they're playing. See, baseball, we had to have a little fun, not so serious. And that's about his personality as well.
He was doing a fundraising banquet one time, and we were doing the Tiger Zone, Gordy and I. And I said, Coach, if you get anybody, that we can talk to promote your event, please bring them down. Oh, no problem. I'm going to bring it. He brought Lee Smith.
That's right. I forgot. Yeah,
he brought
delivered
Lee
Smith for you. Yes.
And we got
Lee
to sit
Arthur.
down and talk to Lee Arthur Smith, the Hall of Famer, one of my favorite players. And I said, you can get in touch with just about anybody. I said, my favorite my favorite player in the 90s was Fred McGriff. I loved watching the Crime Dog. He goes, well, I got his number. You want to call him? So call Fred McGriff for me. It was it was unreal, the reach that he had.
No, and that's when, because he was familiar, because he had seen, some of the struggles that some of his players had to go through, to get noticed. They started the RBI and play ball initiatives. What is it?
The Urban Invitational.
RBI stays, and the Urban Invitational was just one piece of this puzzle where they would play early in the year. They'd bring the bands in. They'd play in L.A. and Dodger Stadium and places like that. But it stands for Reviving Baseball in Inner Cities. And then it followed up with the play ball. But a lot of start right in Compton, New Orleans, Houston, Kansas City, D.C., Cincinnati, areas of Texas, providing indoor batting cages, strength conditioning and agility programs, advanced analytics and tools that a lot of the big colleges and MLB teams use, training, equipment, just academic assistance, and recruiting exposure, which is so big. These programs okay, we've done it for 3 years. We got a lot more black players in MLB. It just doesn't happen like that. But 3 years in a row now, you've had an increase of African-American representation on MLB opening day rosters. And so you're seeing these hard work in some of these programs. He was familiar with the MLB programs in Puerto Rico, Dominican, Venezuela, and other places like that, Panama. And so he knew that. But he was, Charlie, like on – the short counsel, for lack of a better term. I mean, he was involved in the formulation of these programs.
Not only those,
not just participating, in a game in Dodger Stadium.
And you mentioned all the big cities, but one of the things he wanted to do was he wanted to have some of these urban classics. He wanted to have one played in Baton Rouge. And so he got Grambling to come down and play LSU, and Southern played, I forget who it was. And they said, we want some representation from the Urban Invitational to promote this event. So he brought Frank Robinson, the Hall of Famer Frank Robinson. Yeah. I mean, and Frank Robinson came up to the booth to talk during the LSU Grambling game that year. And, man, to have Frank Robinson sit in the booth, what a thrill that was for me to be able to sit there and talk to Frank Robinson. But that's who he brought to help promote this.
And so I've always respected the local guys who, we all know them, and sometimes it could be big fish in small pond, and media market 60 or whatever we are these days, 55, 60, I don't know. But, man, he had a national impact and national reach that was just unheard of for no help at all.
Right.
I mean, just self-made, man. I mean, zero resources, as you talked about earlier. And one of the first things about it is Charlie, he's a big old dude. And I'll put his hands up against Shaquille O'Neal's. I mean, that joker had some.
I've shook hands with both of them. You're not exaggerating.
Okay, okay. I mean, his hands are just so. But then you see this big teddy bear and this guy just silly, like to laugh and joke and kid around and didn't take himself, just was. So his personality and his softness, the gentle giant, but just also never met a stranger since that first day he met me and act like he knew me. We're long lost brothers. I mean. He was a unique cat, man. There's no doubt.
There's a couple other games I want to talk about here when we come back, because that game against Southern Miss, one of the biggest wins in Southern history, but it wasn't the first one, and we both know a little bit about some of the other massive wins that he had. They got noticed on the national stage. We'll say that.
And I remember those selection shows, and they are all familiar with. And Ricky pushed the exposure and the recognition to another level. And I met his family, and they told me about how he was not at the big showcase. He was at this other one, and he recognized, and he was in on him early, but they also trusted him. They could tell, he was going to look out for Ricky, as a college, as they sent their kid off to college, and said, and he was the number 2 pick in the draft. So, and that proved that he could get other kids and be like, he had a run where he was getting.
There was some talent going.
He was getting some talent.
62 guys that got drafted.
Hold on, I'm coming to recruiting in a little bit. I got to finish up, running infield. Don't forget our friends at Legacy Title. Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title for all your real estate closings, 296-0060. A full-service title company servicing all of South Louisiana. Ashley Donald, Adrian Galata, Michael Platt, Marion Haynes, Natalie and Bradford Smith. Buying, building, refinancing. Nobody choose but you. Choose Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title, 296-0060.
Live at Bally's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch from Bally's Casino and Sportsbook on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We return here from Bally's Live at lunch, talking about the legendary Roger Cato, who passed away yesterday at the age of 74. Cato was inducted into the College Baseball Hall of Fame in 2022. Maybe we can debate what the biggest win of his career was, but certainly the first big win, the one that got everybody's attention. You got to go back to 1987 in New Orleans at the South Regional when Southern played Cal State Fullerton, and Fullerton was the 1 seed. LSU was the 2 seed there. Fullerton had a pitcher named Mike Harkey, who would go on to a major league career with the Cubs, among multiple teams.
And it's about 7-8 years in the majors.
Yeah, and Southern beat Cal State Fullerton 1-0. Jimmy, you were there at that game. I wasn't at that. I was at the second one that he won, which was against what was in Northeast Louisiana in 1999, the first year of the super regional format. Called that game when they beat Smoke Laval in Northeast Louisiana in 1999. But the first one was that game in '87, and this is obviously before national seeds were a thing. But Cal State Fullerton would have been a national seed that year. They were easily a top 8 team, as I remember. And Southern beat them 1-0.
Oh, it was a big break for LSU. LSU had just made their first College World Series appearance, and they only won 1 game in that one. I want to say they beat Maine. They lost to Loyola Marymount the first one. I think they beat Maine, and then they lost again. So they were hungry, and everybody knew that they were better than that. So 87. They're not the 1 seed. Not only not the 1 seed, but they're not hosted because UNO in Ron Maestri was, he was ahead of his time. And, they're hosting, I think it's a 3 seed. So they, but when they paved the way, that just, and then LSU took care of business when Cal State Fullerton had to use some of their pitching to come out of the losers bracket, and they beat them with, all they had to do was win one of their first 2. But, yeah, it was just puzzling. Harkey was just on, and it really wasn't a whole lot of first and third, 1 out, didn't get him in. It wasn't a whole lot of scoring opportunity. He was just exceptional that day, dominant pitching over anything.
What I've always heard about that game is Fullerton hit a lot of fly balls and Southern ran down a lot of balls in the outfield. A
lot of lazy fly balls too.
Yeah.
I mean, he was that was even his MLB style of pitching was pitching high, a lot of fly balls.
The regional, this is how geographically dominant the regionals used to be and how good baseball was in Louisiana at the time. Fullerton was the 1 seed. LSU was the 2 seed. UNO hosted as the 3 seed. Louisiana Tech was the 4 seed. Tulane was the 5 seed. And Southern was the 6 seed.
Charlie,
5 Louisiana schools in Fullerton.
Charlie, 2002, you were doing the games, huh?
Yeah. Yes, first year doing the games.
It wasn't a win. But Ricky Weeks just missed one. I mean, it fouled right. It was going right center on Nicholson. I mean, he just missed one pretty late in that game. Was. Did Southern have a lead going into the 7th or something? And then we're down maybe 1 or 2 with runners on. Weeks. I'm
going to be honest.
When they finally got Weeks, but the pitch before he got out, or pitch or 2. I mean, he just missed. Going oppo to right center.
I remember that game. I don't remember the one I remember Southern having the lead in late into the game was 09, and they took a 2-1 lead.
No, this
to the
was
seventh.
This was a better team. This was a way. Yeah, you had the pitcher that finally ran out of gas. This was just a good game. It wasn't so pitching. Like Harkey had to pitch the game of his life in college, okay? The kid that at LSU was down going into the seventh inning stretch, you know, was having the game of his life. Richard, who had a chance to beat him, Chase, that was the game of his. No, it was a shame they matched up. It was just a way better team.
It was tied going to the bottom of the ninth. LSU needed an RBI single in the bottom of the ninth to win that from Sean Barker, and LSU won it 5-4. And
you don't remember the game where in 02?
This was the game in 02.
Oh, okay.
This was the game in 02.
What was the final score?
5-4.
Yeah. No, it was.
I think 4-4 going to the bottom of the ninth. I think
that was the score, maybe in the top of the eighth, maybe the top of the ninth.
That's what I'm saying. This was a walk-off single in the bottom of the ninth for LSU to win it 5-4. It was 4-4 going to the bottom of the ninth.
Okay, so it was 4-4 when Weeks just missed.
Yeah,
is what we're saying.
Yes.
Okay, either in the eighth or ninth. I can't remember exactly.
Let's see. Theo Dumas and Fernando Puebla, back-to-back singles that gave Southern a lead.
Puebla went on to coach for Coach Cador, and I knew him very well, and he was just. I mean, he's going to get a Latin shortstop. I mean, I don't. So yes, you can hit all you want underneath the overpass.
Yeah,
you get all this. No, he was.
They had a 4-3 lead going to the eighth, going to the seventh. LSU tied it in the bottom of the seventh, and then they won it in the bottom of the ninth inning.
Charlie, what's the school that beat LSU this year? That had a much different, not exactly your typical HBCU racial,
Bethune-Cookman.
Bethune-Cookman. And then Prairie View started doing it, but Coach was the first to do it.
Yeah,
okay,
he was.
Yeah,
and they
pull the kids out of U Club, to go play with them.
They beat ULM. Second win in '99. They shook the hell out of LSU in 2002. They shook the hell out of LSU in 2009. I was on the call for a couple of. They beat them down in New Orleans at Zephyr Field. That was a healthy. There's a healthy series. LSU won most of them, okay, just about all of them.
All right.
But Southern was right there in some really important games.
If we're out of time, and the baseball stuff is documented with Dick in front, I do have to share a couple more personal, okay. What is our favorite broadcast that we went to do? It was the Jameson Global broadcast where everything's paid for. Your flight, a really nice high-end hotel, every food, just everything, okay? But some of my favorite broadcasts over the years was the Super Bowl parties from the Lee Steinberg Saturday, the Super Bowl Eve party with Troy Aikman and Warren Moon and Steve Young and Michael Irvin and just, an Outcast is playing a private party, and this one at the Seaquarium at the Historic Museum, just the coolest settings around. And Coach Cador is the one that set me up with those. He said, Jerome, you need to go to these parties. I said, what do they say? So he called up. Steinberg was, before he got sidetracked with some of his personal issues, just had every base covered. One of the deals was they didn't just sell the parents, but he hired parents, and parents that were current parents of current clients, players, or former client/players. And one of his buddies, Jim Maryland, Russell Maryland's dad, was on staff for Steinberg. This is how Cador just connected dots. He said, listen, my buddy's going to come meet you in Miami. Just show him around. I drove over to Jim Maryland's hotel in Miami. I went with him and his wife and his son, and we went to the party. He showed me around, and next thing I know, I'm doing shows there every year. But it's that type of stuff, So just his contacts were just – he knew how to things. He says, and he told Jim, he said, this guy like me, he make things happen. He can make things happen. And the other one, Charlie's just a lazy day in the summer. About this time of the year, old house, we got a crab boil. And LC Jr. still loves talking about this. And John S. has the potato gone with the leftover crabs. You shoot things. I mean, things, they drink. It's kind of wild. And you go, Jerome, I need to go. It's getting a little crazy around here for you white boys. And so, but he loved laughing at Papa's son all summer. Even one of his favorites, Knucklehead, may remember. He loved Knucklehead. He does, and Winsley was like a British character on the show. Winsley, he used to love. He just gets to get the biggest kick, but just, I mean, his personality, like you said, when did you not see him laughing? And let me tell you, man, to the last time, and I know I'm repeating myself, man, that cancer took its toll on him physically. But on the phone, man, you couldn't tell. And he was still full of life till the very end.
God bless him. We're going to miss him. Coach Roger Cador passes away at the age of 74. We'll take our final break here of hour number 1. We are at Bally's downtown Baton Rouge, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch from Bally's Casino and Sportsbook on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hour number 2 will see a little bit of a shift in his schedule. Wes Reynolds will join us up at the top of the hour. Able to visit with him a little bit earlier today. And Bruce Marshall at the bottom of the 12 o'clock hour. Max will have our consensus golf picks presented by Dana Brown at the offices of O.C. Brown at about 12:15. In the meantime, we have gone to the half in the first game match of the day at the World Cup. And England is in a 1-0 hole. Max, what's going on in Atlanta?
Yes, so Congo got up early. The 7th minute, they find the back of the net. And we say it in hockey. I guess it's fair to say in soccer. But the goalie's standing on his head right now for the Congo. England is creating chances. They got 4 shots on goal. He's had some very good saves in that mix. But nevertheless, England, you feel the concern. If they get later in the second half and haven't tied it up, they're going to get extremely nervous there. And even if it goes to extra time, England, with all the pressure they have, the long drought that they've had in the World Cup, in major tournaments, including the Euros, it's going to start to get to them. So they need to find something early in the second half if they want to, regain their confidence, because the winner of this one is going to get Mexico in Mexico City as well.
Oh, they were England was a favorite today, but they weren't a massive favorite.
Oh no, significantly. Congo is.
Were they? Okay.
Look, I mean, the African Federation has done very well in this tournament, just like they did with Morocco's run in 2022. But this was supposed to be a clear mismatch. I'll find the original number from our friends here at DraftKings, but. Yeah, England was minus 330 to win in 90 minutes. So to advance, they were somewhere like minus 700, something like that. I mean, they were significant favorites.
All right, so this is how would you equate this to when Japan was up 1-0 on Brazil on Monday?
Oh no, not the same. Japan's a quality side.
Japan's
I think this is a little closer to Paraguay, Germany. I mean, that's the biggest upset we've seen in the World Cup so far.
What'd you think of the call?
I need to go back and rewatch it, honestly. I was kind of distracted when that happened. I know. I think by the letter of the law, that's the correct call. I know that's going to be very frustrating to a lot of people, but when I saw it live, I kind of thought that might.
So I'm watching the broadcast team. The broadcast team was split. Okay, Charlie said the broadcasters, most of them had a problem with it. For what it's worth, my son thought they missed it as well. Let's just say it was close. You just think it's
so hard in the World Cup level, because we're used to, if you're watching European leagues in soccer, they all call these things differently. They all have different points of emphasis. So when it gets to the World Cup and you've got refereeing crews from all over the world,
I understand.
There's not a whole lot of
video audio
consistency.
Replay.
VAR is still inconsistent.
Okay, that's what we're talking about. On field, I get that, your different styles and different leagues, but VAR
is inconsistent.
Has variance
that's the biggest problem
in enforcement?
Yes, that's the biggest problem that soccer fans have. It is a problem. Around the world, it's called differently, but when I saw it live, I thought that might be chalked off, and it was. I get Germany's going to be upset, but it made some sense by the letter of the law.
Democratic Republic of Congo 1, England nothing. That is at the half. We'll take a break. Be back with hour number 2 here at Bally's Sportsbook and Casino, downtown Baton Rouge. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch from Bally's Casino and Sportsbook on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
England down 1 goal at halftime of the first match of the World Cup today. United States and Bosnia-Herzegovina tonight, 7 o'clock. You can watch it here at Bally's, downtown Baton Rouge.
Don't forget Total Maintenance. Your AC doesn't care if it's the hottest day of the year, just quits. That's why Total Maintenance offers same-day service to get your home cool and comfortable fast. Call Total Maintenance at 480-0007. Plus, repairs are backed by our lifetime warranty, giving you confidence long after the repair is complete. Our elite membership plans are awesome, man. Service 2 times a year, 50% off diagnostics, 15% off repairs. All repairs, again, come with that 3-year warranty. All of the service at $39.95 a month, and half of that goes into credit. So $20 of your $39.95 a month goes into a credit. So when it's time to replace equipment, you use this credit, what we call is TM bucks, total maintenance bucks, to use it so that you're not hit with a big-time bill. And we got a sign-up bonus. If you sign up for our elite membership plan, we're going to give you $200 TM bucks credit to start off with. It comes with a sensor system with the app to notify of a breakdown. That way we can identify that a problem, basically early detection, that your unit is about to break down, so that we can address it before it gets more costly. 2 visits a year with diagnostics, lifetime warranty on repairs, credit that goes into half of your monthly bill, 50% off your monthly fee going to TM bucks at credit. It's Total Maintenance, 480-0007, 480-0007.
Just before the show today, we had a chance to visit with our friend from VEASAN, Wes Reynolds, about this week's golf and a little bit of World Cup. And we welcome in Wes Reynolds to talk a little golf and a little World Cup. Wes, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Charlie. Good to be with you.
All right, I got to ask, when the playoff comes around on Monday and you see the approach shots for both Viktor Hovland and Scottie Scheffler, I know it was going through my mind. What was going through your mind when both of these guys are inside of 10 feet and Hovland's out?
Yeah, I think probably that at least Scotty was going to make the putt, and probably both of them, because those greens, I think, ran relatively pure. And those guys, they weren't able to flinch, posting 21 under. And I had Colin Morikawa, who was one shot short. He needed to shoot 60 to get in that Monday playoff. Unfortunately,
61
no
good. 61 no good. 61 no good.
Yeah, 61, just kind of a boilerplate round. But yeah, I was very surprised to see Scotty miss kind of a shorty there in a playoff situation, because we usually don't see that. But I think it says a lot, for Viktor Hovland, and why people keep believing in him and kind of going back to him, because he has so much talent and he's so gifted, but he's constantly tinkering with his swing. And that's why you saw him drift out to 40-1 last week to win the Travelers, because if you watch the U.S. Open coverage the previous weekend, you saw him still on site, even though he missed the cut, working on something on the range. And he's constantly tinkering with the swing, constantly working with different swing coaches. But the talent's obviously there. And I thought he scrambled well. I thought he hit his ball off the tee well. And, big win for Viktor. And that's what you're waiting for. It's can he win these big events on a more regular basis?
Scotty hasn't won since January. For anybody else, this year would be maybe a career year for a lot of guys, but now there's the whispers that Scotty's been close, a pile of top 10s and some top 5s, even in the majors, but he hasn't had a win since January. Is this just golf, or is there something else going on here?
I think it's more of the former, because if you look at it, Charlie, he does have 4 runner-up finishes, and he's never finished outside the top 25 in any of those 13 events. He's kind of on a 13-event streak where he hadn't won. And he hasn't missed a cut in almost 4 years. I was actually going through that yesterday. I was like, when's the last time this guy missed a cut? And I know there are more no-cut events now with the signature events on the tour, but still, I think it was Memphis in 2022 at the FedEx St. Jude is the last time the guy missed a cut. So he's still playing great golf. He's just a little bit of a notch below the level he was. So you never can really be too concerned because there's a point in the market if you're betting where you're like, okay, man, when is this guy going to drift up enough? When is there a buy low spot, as ridiculous as that sounds on Scotty Scheffler? But there never is because he's so consistent. It's not like the guy's missed like 2 or 3 cuts in a row or he's finishing T47 or something like that. He's still playing great golf, and that's why he remains the favorite pretty much every single week.
One of the best-known stats in golf is that Jack Nicklaus has won more majors than anybody else. A little bit lesser known, I think, Wes, he still owns the most second-place finishes in majors. So sometimes you play great golf, good enough golf to win against everybody, but one other guy has a career week or a big week, a season-high week or something like that, and it's just kind of golf.
Absolutely. So, you mentioned that Jack Nicklaus stat. Yeah, 19 runners-up. So that's going to happen, but he's always in the mix, even when he might seem to have his, B+ or B game, like you saw that at the U.S. Open. He was still right there in the final pairing on Sunday, even though there was a 6-shot difference to start the round. So I think he's going to be fine. I know we're all waiting to see if we ever get 10-1 again on this guy. Probably not anytime soon. So I think he's going to be just fine. And getting that game in shape for Royal Birkdale in a couple weeks.
All right, we're going to give him the week off. The John Deere Classic, this is I'm going to call it kind of an icky spot in the schedule off of not the U.S. Open elevated event. It's the 4th of July weekend. This is not an elevated event. This is not exactly the most star-studded field. I think Chris Gotterup and Ben Griffin are the two odds-on favorites here. So with Scotty staying home this week, can we make any money? Let's see where the value is at the John Deere.
Yeah, we're gonna look a little bit below, and then of course the big story: Jackson Coyven from Auburn making his professional debut, the 11-time winner in 3 years down there at Auburn. But I'm not going to go with him this week. He's as low as 20-1 in the market, so not going to go with him on his tour debut, even though I think he's going to win this calendar year. So I went with a little bit below that, Tom Kim and Michael Chorbjornsen at around 35-1. Tom Kim, of course, was third at the U.S. Open, third in this field on approach, sixth in good drives. All of his victories have been on these birdie fests on shorter courses like TPC Summerlin, Sedgefield, TPC Deer Run, where the John Deere is being held in the Quad Cities this week, I think really fits that bill. And then Chorbjornsen actually was Jackson Coyven, but 2 years ago when he won the PGA Tour U and got his tour card for the most points in college golf and finished third on his third professional start here at the John Deere Classic. A couple near misses over the last 2 years. He's been close to a victory on these low-scoring courses. I think he can go well. And then a couple guys that I think have been really consistent, but just haven't been able to break through at their first win. And we've seen a lot of guys get their first win here at the John Deere. Rio Hisatsune could be a guy that fits that category. 4 top 10s before April. Hasn't really come that close since, but he's been solid all year. He's made every cut this season except the first event at the Sony Open. Really good positional driver, which you have to be here. First in the field for par 5 performance, very high in birdie or better. I think this drop in class, too, Charlie. These guys have been playing all the majors and signature events, and a drop in class without a lot of the game's elite this week. I think some of these prices are drifting a little bit high on consistent players like Hisatsune. Jackson Suber, another guy that kind of fits in that category at 60-1. 54-hole leader at the RBC in Canada 3 weeks ago before he finished T4. He's got 3 top 5 finishes this year. Very good on approach, very good in the iron bucket, 100 to 150 yards with the wedges. Jackson Suber makes the card for me. And then 3 other ones. Daniel Berger, right around that 60-1. He's been playing all these majors and signature events and maybe hadn't recovered quite yet from losing that playoff to Akshay Bhatia at the API in Orlando back in March. But first in this field with strokes gain approach. So his irons have been terrific. Just got to make some putts. He did over the weekend after he really putted badly, I think, the first 2 days, Thursday and Friday at the Travelers. Denny McCarthy, who, if you followed the John Deere over the years, is always kind of on that first page of the leaderboard, right? 11-7-6-6 here in the last 4 years. Great putter, one of the best in the game. Led the field in greens and regulation last week, along with Scheffler and Fitz and Morikawa, who are contenders to win the tournament. So Denny McCarthy makes the card at around 60-1. And then the long shot this week, a little bit north of 80-1, Ben Cole, who is no longer a regular member of the PGA Tour because he lost his card last year. So he had to go back down to the Corn Ferry, where he did win earlier this month, and that's 5 career victories on the Corn Ferry. This is one of those PGA Tour starts he's got to take advantage. Like, if he wants to really ensure his playing status for next year. Led the field in approach at the U.S. Open, finished 23rd after having to qualify a week before. So Ben Coles is a guy that I think could really go well here. Remember, he was runner-up a couple of years ago at TPC Craig Ranch in Dallas, and I think that's a very comparable course to what we see at the John Deere this week.
All right, so up at the top of the card, Tom Kim, Michael Thorberson, Rio Histadze, Jackson Suber, and then down the card, Daniel Berger, Denny McCarthy, Ben Cole. Is that what our card look like?
Yes, absolutely. So hopefully we get one home. I think this has been an event over the years where you kind of get some middling and long shots, and no one longer than a 350-1 shot last year with Brian Campbell. So a lot of guys very live this week.
All right, let's talk about the World Cup. We got 3 days left of the knockout round. We've seen Brazil survive, Germany be eliminated, France and Mexico look dominant, and the United States going tonight. Either that or over the next 2 days, a spot that you've identified, one that you like.
Yeah, this World Cup has been awesome, even for non-soccer people. This has been great. We had one blowout match of all of these, because I think we were expecting like 16 bangers here in the round of 16 that they were all going to go to penalty kicks, and France said no. France looks like the best team and like the side to beat. They're like, no, we're going to put these guys away a little bit early. So one that I did play, I played the under in the Congo-England match, which is going to be very early and going on actually right now. So looking at that, and then I think I'm going to take Team USA. I know there's a lot of pressure on them and there's a lot of hype. I would lean Team USA on the goal line, -1.5 plus money. I think about even money or maybe 105. I think if you're a team and you saw what happened in the first couple days of this World Cup knockout round, you can't mess around and go to penalty kicks with these teams like Germany did, like the Netherlands. Hired France yesterday, and they went out and put balls on goal and took care of Sweden. It felt like they should have had like 5 goals in the first half, but ended up with just the one and then put them right away. I'm excited for USA here. I think that, there is a path for them to potentially make the quarterfinals against Spain, where they'll be massive underdogs, because Spain and France look like, I think, the clear 2 best sides right now.
All right, before we let you go, NBA free agency is open this week. I know what the big stories are, but what's most caught your attention? Whether the big names that have moved, some big names obviously have moved. Giannis has moved, Kawhi's moved, LeBron's on the move. But what has caught your attention most with the opening of free agency?
Well, a couple of those that you mentioned, Kawhi going to the Raptors. All of a sudden, the Raptors are a team that might be getting slept on in the East here, because everybody will talk about the Knicks, of course, and Detroit won the most games in the regular season in the East last year. But Toronto and then plus Indiana, who really hasn't done anything, they're just getting their star back from the Achilles injury. But those are the ones kind of underneath there, and that's what I'm wondering. Why LeBron? Hopefully they don't limit it to the West. I know they say go West, young man, but he needs to go East, old man. And he needs to get with one of these teams, because you still got San Antonio and Oklahoma City. They're going to be at the top of the heap in the West for years and years to come. If you get back to the finals, go find something East. So does LeBron end up back in Cleveland? Who knows? Golden State seems to be the favorite now, and maybe perhaps the preferred destination. But I got to tell you, they look like a 7 or 8 seed in the playoffs, even with LeBron and Curry and Draymond. And it just, I could just see them going against like a young team in the playoffs, in the play-in scenario, like a Utah and Dallas, the old guys against the young guys. And if I were LeBron and Rich Paul, I'd be looking to get to the Eastern Conference as fast as I could.
You know what I thought of when I looked at this Golden State potential roster, what it could be? The top of the line. I thought about the Wheeze kids. You remember the Wheeze kids in '83, the Phillies? They put together that team of just almost nothing but veteran players, and they called them the Wheeze kids. Pete Rose came back to Philadelphia. That's what I thought. They made it to the World Series that year. They didn't win, but that would be. This would be an even tougher road with all of what you're talking about, that hard road in the West. But that's what I thought of. Can you put a veteran roster together and make it? Yeah, it's been done before, but it would be tough.
Yeah, these kids don't have a 7'5" Frenchman or the MVP in their path in their division. So, if I were LeBron and Rich Paul, try to find somewhere in the Eastern Conference, because even with the Knicks being the favorite and returning the core, that's still very wide open.
Wes, we always appreciate your time. Have a terrific holiday weekend, and we'll check back in with you next week.
You bet, Charlie. Thanks for having me.
Our Wednesday consensus golf picks are brought to you by Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown.
And return here at Bally's, downtown Baton Rouge. About 10 minutes into the second half, Democratic Republic of Congo still leading England 1-0. 1-0. That game is being played in Atlanta. All right, consensus golf picks. You heard what Wes had to say. Max?
Yeah, I'm going to start my card also at 30-1, and Tom Kim was the last guy off my card, so I'm kind of with Wes. I expect him to play well, but his number's gotten beat down. He started at 45-1 earlier in the week in good form, so I understand the case there. But I'm actually going to go with Jacob Bridgman at 30-1 to start my card. Starting to play a little bit better golf after winning the Genesis Invitational early this year. He was on fire to start the year, kind of, fell off a little bit with his form. His iron play dipped considerably from where it was earlier this year, and his putting, which is normally a strength of his game throughout his career, also started to skid, but he's starting to find a little bit more form. 11th place finish at the Canadian Open, top 40 at the U.S. Open, and he's finding enough fairways to contend here. I think an easier golf course that challenges all iron play. A lot of wedges, certainly, but I think he's a quality player in this field that's going to make enough birdies to make a run in this. So Jacob Bridgman at 30-1. Doug Gim, 50-1. Look, there's a lot of longer shots here. It's a pretty open field. You've got Spieth and Goddard and Jackson Koiven, an amateur who's finally making his first pro debut, the most prized, most coveted amateur since Tiger Woods in terms of his resume at the college level. But I think it opens up, it's pretty open, and I'm going to take more shots. And Doug Gim is one of these guys who is yet to win on the PGA Tour. He's been on the tour for a little while. He had a runner-up in the 2024 Shriners, but otherwise hasn't been all that close. This is the type of course that suits him. Accuracy is important, way more important than distance this week. He's a good iron player. If he can get the putter hot on these bent grass greens, he can get something going. He's not had a great success here, great track record at the John Deere, but nevertheless, Doug Gim at 50-1, I think worth a shot. Michael Kim, 55-1. This is a guy who does have great experience here in that he's won here before by 8 shots back in 2018. Since then, he's missed the cut every time he's appeared here, but nevertheless, he showed that he can win at this venue, and he's had a decent year this year. Runner-up finish at the Texas Open, RBC Heritage, he finished 25th, 17th at the Charles Schwab. I mentioned those 3 tournaments because those are both accuracy-type golf courses over distance, and something that he's not all that great at is accuracy with the driver, but he's able to club down a little bit on a week like this week. So the fact that he's won here before, 55-1, I think a fair shot considering he's in decent form at the moment. Blades Brown, 66-1. So I mentioned Koiven. He's all the way down to 25-1. This prized young guy who's making his pro debut. But Blades Brown is younger than him, and he's not quite the prospect I don't think that Koiven is. But at 19 years old, he has done quite a great job already in his pro career. Had some close calls on the Korn Ferry Tour. Also, third-place finish at the Puerto Rico Open, which is an alt-field event on the PGA Tour level. He showed he can contend be in the mix, and he's gotten those juices flowing a little bit more, and he can make birdies in bunches. So Blades Brown at 66-1, maybe a guy who breaks out a la like Jordan Spieth did when he won his first PGA Tour event at a very young age in his teens. Tony Finau is 66-1. That's quite a long number for a guy with his sort of track record, his pedigree, a 6-time PGA Tour winner. And look, it's been a rough go. The last 2 years have been a real slide for Finau, but he's shown in the past he can win Birdie Fest, and we're starting to see the driver come around. That's the real weapon of his. He's hitting it further, he's hitting it straighter, and now that he's gotten that under control, I'm starting to trust him a little bit more. 6th place at the Byron Nelson. He's, missed a cut in between there, but nevertheless, I think I'm just going to play the number here, and Finau at 66-1 is worth the play, in my opinion. Emiliano Grillo at 84-1. Somebody who I've played here a lot in the past, seems to suit this golf course, and a guy who's more focused on accuracy off the tee, not the longest hitter, but he can find fairways. He's got 2 runner-up finishes in 3 starts here, including last year. He finished runner-up. He's been right there in the mix. There's some really gut-wrenching, heartbreaking losses here. But I think he can get back in the mix. He's coming off of back-to-back top 25 finishes, including at the U.S. Open. So he's starting to find his form. If the putter's good, it's always the case that he can contend at a course like this where accuracy is paramount. And finally, Ben Coles at 90-1. You heard him mentioned by Wes. He's going to be our consensus pick this week. He is playing pretty well. He's been back and forth from the Korn Ferry Tour to the PGA Tour, but he's won on the Korn Ferry Tour back last month at the beginning of June. He's got another top 20 finish on the Korn Ferry Tour, but also he qualified for the U.S. Open, and he showed that form is not just at the Korn Ferry Tour level. He finished 23rd. His iron play was immaculate, and he's a good accuracy player off the tee as well. So Ben Coles at 90-1, our consensus pick this week. But also my other picks, Bridgman, Doug Kim, Michael Kim, Blaze Brown, Tony Finau, and Emiliano Grillo.
I'm disappointed. Jordan Spieth?
It's not an elevated event.
Yeah, but
He only picks them when it's bigger events.
Spieth has won this event twice.
He has.
Not recently, but twice.
It's 30.
28 is what I saw.
The putter is ice cold. He's experimenting with lab putters, with other putters.
He'll heat up about
You know,
4.5 years.
If you asked me a month ago, I would have taken it for sure. But his last few events have not been that pretty, and it's been underwhelming. I think he's under a little bit of pressure right now.
Bet already?
No. He's going to win in the next. What was it? How many years did I have?
What was you had 5 for the time.
5? Oh yes. He's going to win a signature event or a major. Although signature events are going away in a couple of years.
I'm joking. It was 2.
Was it 2? I think it was 5.
You can pretty much say
pretty
anything
sure
right
it was
now.
5.
He doesn't even remember.
I do think it was 5.
Ordinarily, if it follows
I wanted to make
I
sure.
I think it was 5. I think
It was 5?
Yeah,
I'm
it
not
was
going to
5.
short you, but what is
He's
wrong
won-
with you?
I
How did you
I
remember
thought
that?
for sure.
Because
with
I
this,
know
he
it's
was
going to
gonna-
happen, so I'm not really concerned with when it happens. It's just going to happen.
It's
so
not going to happen.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. No worries. It'll get there, but his form in the last month has not been very good. He had a rough June for sure.
What if he?
What don't you think with the new format next year moving forward? Where
Well, it'll be in 2 years, 2028.
Okay.
They'll be switching.
Okay. But the elevated events, when we get there, I guess 2 years. So he's got to. Most of the best players play in the elevated events now. Wouldn't they all be obligated to?
They won't be obligated to, but their postseason, their standings will be much more dependent on them playing
so you
every
even
time.
have a higher percentage, participation percentage.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and they're going to structure the
best
schedule.
players is what
They're going to structure that top-level schedule to where there are some bye weeks mixed in, so they don't have to worry about, I can't play 5 weeks in a row. That's not good. Right now, you're making your own schedule.
And when that comes, what's the future of this event this weekend?
The John Deere, they'll probably be at the lower level. There's been discussions, some rumors about this event specifically. They're asking sponsors to pay more for the elevated events, but I don't think that this, being in a smaller market, is going to have much priority from the PGA Tour. So this would be one of the lower level, the Challenger Series, as they called it, if the John Deere wants to. It's a shame. The John Deere's been devoted. They've been a title sponsor for quite some time here. And they were once an alternate field event. Recently they were going up against other tournaments. I think they might have basically gone up against either the Scottish or the British Open at one point.
They were the week before the British Open, the year that Spieth was going there, because they sent a plane. They agreed to have. Listen, you guys, we want you to play in the John Deere. We realize it's a hard trip across the pond. they chartered a plane for all of them that wanted to play in both events.
Right.
That's good. That's 10 years ago.
That was
now.
once what the John Deere was known for. Then they added the Scottish to the PGA Tour rotation, and that really took away the identity of the John Deere Classic. So I think this is going to be one of the lower field events, unfortunately. But John Deere's, this is one of the better fields, to be honest, than what they've had over the last couple of years, which has been really, really dismal. I mean, Goddard, Spieth, Finau, at least those are names. Ben Griffin won 3 times last year, so they've got something. But, they're one of the outside looking in when it comes to the top levels of the PGA Tour.
What if Spieth only wins one more tournament the rest of his career, but it's the PGA?
Oh, he'd take that probably in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
To be part of the career Grand Slam.
But he's only 32 years old. He got one more tournament win, but it's the PGA. Yes, I'd take that trade in a heartbeat.
When's his last win?
It's been 3 years. 3 years since then. He won. It was either the Texas Open. I think it was the Heritage.
It was the RBC.
Last
yeah,
one.
it was the RBC in
event?
22.
Yes, it is currently. I don't think the elevated event existed then. I don't think they were signature events back then by name. But it was a good field.
That little tournament, the Lighthouse, man, South Carolina. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's an elevated event. Scotty Scheffler shows up there. I mean, they're good winners there.
Yeah,
it's a fun tournament. It's the week after the Masters.
That might be
so kind
my
of
biggest sweat. One of these little borderline elevated events.
Oh, okay.
Might be my biggest sweat.
Yeah. Well, that's not borderline, Jimmy. Come on. It's either elevated or it's not. He won on the PGA Tour.
I'm well aware, but it is on the lower end of it.
It's only a $20 million investment. That's it.
Man, look, the Zurich is not far behind, bro. The Zurich where they've lacked, it has not been the money. The purse has been very competitive, and has been treated not as well as some with weaker purses. It's not. It hasn't been that. It just, I don't know how it maintains. It's had very few of the high end players. It's going to have fewer. Period. And you don't know what kind of format they're going to
I think they make the most of it. They try to take care of the families. The food is obviously a huge thing. They run the tournament well, and that's what's made them survive, I think, for as long as they have. And a good sponsor in the Zurich who is extended, as well.
Oh, the sponsors helped.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. Don't forget our Consensus Golf Report brought to you by our friends Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown. Your law firm for a lifetime. You get in an accident, man, it is going to be a pain. It's never fun. It's never convenient. It is just, it's almost like a second job. Well, Dana's going to make it as pain-free as possible, setting you up with specialists or the doctors, negotiating with the insurance, paying for some of the doctor bills so you don't have to front some of that money, and we'll settle at the end of your case. And the first thing also is evaluate your case and see what kind of case that you do have. But he's been through this so many times, he's going to let you know exactly what. I couldn't imagine. It was a pain to begin with. It would have been much more painful if I didn't call 343-1111 and Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown. I'm not only use them for when I got in a car accident, but also the succession plan. Another thing that we just don't know. Wait, I need this, I need that, and worked with the office and just and Miss Susan did such a wonderful job and just taking all this stress out of you, dealing with things like that. You don't know. You think. Okay, it's going to be easy. It's not easy. It's nothing easy. It's a longer process than you realize, and it's something that you're not familiar with. Lean on his professionals. Downtown Dana Brown, second-generation law firm started by his dad, former district attorney Hiller Moore.
O.C. Brown.
O.C. Brown.
Yeah.
I got Hiller on my mind.
I knew what you meant.
Coach Kador.
I know why you got Hiller on your mind. Yeah.
Dana was very close to Kador as well. God, rest in peace. Downtown Dana Brown, the law offices of O.C. Brown, 343-1111 and ocbrown.com.
Hydration break. Democratic Republic of Congo
it's a pick 'em right now. Live pick 'em on who advances, England or DR Congo.
The English got to get it going. Are they going to be in some trouble? Live at lunch, 104.5, ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch from Bally's Casino and Sportsbook on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget our friends at Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. If your homeowners association requires wood windows like mine, you got to call our friends over at Relief Windows. That's right. These windows are treated specially to handle the extreme weather conditions of South Louisiana. They look, I think I've had them for about 6 or 8 years now. They look brand new. They function like they did the first day I used them. On a nice spring or fall day, you'd open it up, get some fresh air in that room, and they last, man. So there's just it's really the R-Last wood by Gel Wind. Unlike your average wood, it's treated. The average wood is just treated on the surface. This from Relief Windows is treated straight through the core, offering unparalleled protection against rot, water saturation, termites, and extreme South Louisiana weather conditions. These wood frame windows are built to last. They last. They've been there. Listen, they're not expensive. You don't want to be doing this any more than you do. Do them right the first time. Call 288-8138 or go to reliefwindows.com.
Into minute 73, Democratic Republic of the Congo 1, England 0. Earlier, right before the show started today, we had a chance to visit with our friend Bruce Marshall about tonight's game match for the United States. Bruce Marshall with us usually on Fridays, but moving it up a couple of days because the United States in the World Cup against Bosnia and Herzegovina, I think. Am I getting that right, Bruce? I've just been saying Bosnia, so just going with that for tonight.
Yeah, that'll work. Bosnia-Herzegovina, but Bosnia's good enough, too.
Before we get into that match, let's talk about what we've seen so far in the knockout round, whether it be Germany exiting, Mexico and France kind of dominating, or Brazil surviving. What's the big takeaway from the first few days of the knockout round?
Well, all of that. France looking awfully good. I think they've assumed the role of a clear favorite now in the tournament, and that's sort of developed over the group phase, and then of course that just easy win over Sweden on Tuesday. So France obviously looking good. Germany, that was a gut punch. Because Germany had not lost a shootout in any competition since 1976, the Euros. So 50 years since they had lost a shootout in one of those. So it was a very, very tough night for Germany, but not that big a surprise because it's not that great of a Germany side. I think that's pretty obvious right now. The other thing is Mexico here, and proving that the home field, at least for Mexico, is working very good. That was another very impressive effort for Mexico, and they get their neck against Ecuador last night. It really looked good. The thing is, what are they going to do when they aren't playing at home like that? They get one more at home in the round of 16 against the England-Congo winner, and then they're going to have to go into the United States if they can survive that. So Mexico, though, has been one of the stories of the World Cup. It's just, are they going to be able to carry that home field edge when they aren't playing in the Azteca? We'll see.
Let me ask your opinion, because we talked about this quite a bit, and you watch way more soccer than we have. The call to take the goal away from Germany, the obstruction to the goalkeeper. What did you think of the call? Highly controversial.
It's a very weak call. I don't think they should have taken it away at all. I think, if anything, the goalkeeper sort of initiated the little contact, but he was already up, and there wasn't much contact in the first place. But it was well before Todd scored the goal. I thought it was very weak. And that was one of the calls that didn't work here in the VAR in the World Cup. But I think Germany has real reason to be upset about that. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the U.S. match tonight. And if you could kind of go back through the first two matches, which clinched their spot in the knockout round, they couldn't have looked any better. The third match, they chose to go mainly with reserves, almost an entirely new lineup, while getting some of the regulars a little bit of work. So what do you make of the form of this team going into the knockout round?
Well, I think go back, and I might have mentioned this back on last Friday when we were talking about the USA and how Mauricio Pochettino, I might have been a little off base in my criticism of the U.S. before the tournament started. And I was always comparing it to the 2002 team, Bruce Arena's team, that made the quarterfinals that year in Asia in the World Cup. Played a totally different style. They're very difficult to play through. They go low block, a lot of mid block. They played on the counter, very pragmatic style. But Arena did that because that's the players that he had, and that was the best way forward with that group of players. Pochettino couldn't coach this team like that. This is an attack-minded team. He's got a lot more firepower than Arena had in 2002. So he's implemented a style that gives this team the best chance to win, and that is a high press, looking to identify overloads where they can, very aggressive, forcing turnovers. That's directly led to those 2 own goals, I think, in the opening 2 games versus Paraguay and Australia. And use some of the attacking guys on this team, and they really haven't had to worry about their defense getting exposed too much. That might work against Bosnia tonight in the Bay Area. Eventually, though, I think the U.S. will get found out on defense. Or Pochettino can't play that sort of strategy against everybody. The better teams, the ones with better midfields, the ones that are more confident in their offensive thrusts upfield, it'd be suicidal to do that sort of a strategy against those teams. Paraguay and Australia were sort of made to order for USA, and may have helped USA look better than it really is. The question about tonight is about what Bosnia is going to be able to do. And actually, I think this works out pretty well for the U.S. because this is not a real dynamic offensive team. Best player is a 40-year-old Edin Dzeko, who has been over the last 15 years been one of the best players in Europe, but he's 40 years old now. So that's going to make it difficult for Bosnia, which I think we've seen this before from Bosnia, the opening game against Canada. And they did get to an early lead. They scored from a corner, and they just sat back in a low block the rest of the way and let Canada come at them. And they almost pulled that game out. Canada did their level later. They will, in the game, that ended 1-1. I think they'll try the exact same thing here tonight against the Americans. They'll sit back in a low block and kind of dare the U.S. to come at them. One thing to worry about with Bosnia, they did get through in the UEFA qualifiers to get here. They barely missed out on the automatic qualifier. Late goal again against Austria. Then they had to go the playoff route, and they were an underdog, big underdog, both times at Wales in Cardiff. A game Dzeko scored late to force extra time. They went to penalty kicks, won. Then they faced Italy, bigger underdog at home. Trailed late, scored late, forced extra time, and then penalty kicks, won again on penalty kicks. They're a very resilient side, so the longer this match goes 0-0, the better for Bosnia. But I think U.S. breaks through at some point. Bosnia just won't threaten that much. And all this firepower, Pulisic and Balogun and McKennie and the rest, I think eventually they break through. I think USA wins. I'm going to go 2-0. Same score as Mexico-Ecuador last night. It'll be a little different game than Mexico-Ecuador, though. I think this will take a little bit longer for the USA to gain control. But I think they will, and I think they'll win in advance.
So your recommendation would be to bet them in regular time. We're showing minus 275 on that, and not in a double chance or an advance type of wager.
Yeah, and I might look at the Asian line of the spread. You lay a goal and a half with the U.S., you get a slight plus price there. I usually don't like to lay, 275. That anything over minus 200 is getting kind of risky there. There's some other options there you can look at on spread or the Asian line, or even the total here, 2.5. Since I don't envision Bosnia doing much attacking, I think this one probably stays under. So that's I might look at that as well. And also, correct goal scorer, you get a pretty good price on Pulisic scoring a goal. About plus 150 or so, and I think he looks hungry enough, and he came back and looked good enough after that injury to his calf. Very dangerous looking, so I think Pulisic to score a goal may be worth a look as well.
If the United States advances, they will face the winner of Belgium and Senegal, which is the second match today on the card. This is considered to be a much closer matchup. Bruce, what do you expect in that one?
Yeah, I think, first of all, an over in that one. You got 2.5 goals. I'm thinking over just because Senegal's played some pretty freewheeling sort of games thus far. And Belgium started to look like Belgium again. in that game last Friday at Vancouver, which they had to win against New Zealand to advance through, and they finally did. They got Jeremy Doku, the electric winger from Manchester City, back in the lineup. He missed the Iran match. I think he's their best player, and I think they finally figured out how to use Romelu Lukaku off the bench. He's had an injury-plagued year at Napoli, but he is Belgium's all-time leading scorer, and he's better in short spurts, and we saw him be very effective, especially in that game against New Zealand coming off the bench. And De Bruyne is running the show from midfield pretty good. They looked like the good Belgium in that match. The one advantage they have here at goal is Thibaut Courtois from Real Madrid. An edge because Senegal's top keeper, Edouard Mendy, may not play. He hurt his knee in the Norway match. But nonetheless, the Belgium we saw against New Zealand really looked like they got their verve back. And I think Belgium wins here. And this is one, it's a close price there. You get about plus 110 or something like that. That's one I would do just on the regular three-way on the Belgium win. And I could see maybe an over as well. That if Belgium is attacking the way they did on Friday against New Zealand, I could see perhaps an over as well.
All right, we got 2 more days. We're not going to be able to talk to you. We're on the break on Friday, and we're not going to be with you tomorrow. So we got 2 more days of the first round of the knockout stage of the tournament. We're still got to see Spain, Portugal, Argentina are all still slated to go in this knockout round. Anything in the next 2 days that presents some value, I guess?
Yeah, I think Switzerland on Thursday looks really good to me. They'd be playing. They're going to be playing Algeria. This game is up in Vancouver. Switzerland's been able to hang out in Vancouver for the last week since they beat Canada last Friday, and that's kept them up there. And so that's good for them. I think Switzerland looks really interesting right now. They looked very good at the Euros 2 years ago. I like this side, and they remind me of a club team, and I say that in a positive sense because they are so familiar with one another because they've played so many games together. I think that works in Switzerland's favor. Also, this young winger from Freiburg in Germany, Johan Manzambi, giving Switzerland something completely different right now. I mean, he's almost like a Lamine Yamal sort, and all of a sudden he's on the radar. Newcastle's after him. Bayern Munich now is talking about signing him. But that Switzerland's still, they can tend to be somewhat predictable offensively, even though they can be effective. But Manzambi's given them something else completely. He looks really, really good. I think that's a great price. You've got Switzerland against Algeria on Friday. That's a Thursday. And you've got a slight plus price there on a Switzerland win on the three-way. So I would probably look at that. And one other one on tomorrow and Thursday. I am not sure about Portugal here. Croatia is a tough side to break down, a veteran side here. But Portugal, it looks all this Cristiano Ronaldo stuff. I'm not sure he is. It's like he's managing the team almost, and he's not helping them all that much. Croatia's very tough, and now this one I might. On the money line, you're looking at plus 380 with Croatia. You can probably do this a bit differently, and plus a half goal. These are all 90-minute prices, by the way, so this is on 90 minutes. I could definitely see this thing going into extra time. Croatia plus a half goal, you get about a plus 105, plus 110. I'd look at that as well on Thursday.
Bruce, we always appreciate your time. Enjoy the matches. Enjoy the 4th of July.
Live at lunch from Bally's Casino and Sportsbook on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Harry Kane has given the English the lead 2-1 there in extra time. 6 extra minutes for the Democratic Republic of Congo to try to tie the score.
Yeah, 6 minutes left in extra time, about 30 seconds in. So about 5.5 minimum on extra time. But, yeah, England with Harry Kane in the 75th minute or 74th, 75th minute, and in, about 87th? 86, 87?
86, yeah.
86, 87. So you still got your Haaland, Mbappe, Kane, Messi, and Ronaldo all score a goal. your knockout rounds, your parlay. That
We're
was
live.
so popular. Say live. Hey, we're off on Friday. We're doing a show tomorrow. Everybody's off on Friday. Next Monday, we'll be at Chris's Specialty Foods. Chris's Specialty Foods. This weekend at Chris's Specialty Foods on Highland Road, right across from Rufino's, and also in the Millerville store, a big 4th of July weekend sale. 25% off all meat in the store. Off all meat, celebrating their 250-year anniversary. Chris's Specialty Foods, 25% off all meat at their stores.
United States match tonight, 7 o'clock. No better place to watch it than Bally's Sportsbook and Casino here in downtown Baton Rouge. Best screen anywhere. Great bar service, terrific food options, and, of course, if you want to do some gaming while you're here, wonderful place to be here at Bally. Easy parking in the garage right across the breezeway, downtown Baton Rouge. Tomorrow, we are at Iverstein. Get you ready for the 4th of July. For Jimmy Ott, for Max Gotro, Jordan Kinch is back in the studio. I'm Charles Henniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for the Hunt Palmer Show with Taylor Sharp guest hosting on 104.5 ESPN